Character designs are integral to making a successful show, comic, franchise, game, and really anything. Characters can make or break whatever piece of media you're working on. Being able to infer who does what and how they act simply from looking at them is the main goal of any character design. Or, well, at least it should be. Now, take that very important design concept and chuck it out the window, because that is exactly what I did when designing almost all of my webcomic characters. Yeah, it was rough. So in this video, I'll be showing you some of my designs and point out what was great about them and what could use some work. Oh, by the way, everything I say should be taken with a spoonful of salt and skepticism, as I am in no way, shape, or form a character designer and have no real qualifications other than I am a very harsh judge of myself. Okay, disclaimer over, and let's get into the video. We first start off with my beloved problem child, who you've by now heard plenty of, if you watched my previous video going into how I wrote my other character, VL. Yes, of course I mean Emery. If you scroll down a little on my TikTok, you can definitely see a couple of familiar faces, but we'll get into VL, who is a completely different can of worms soon. So, to know where I should start with Emery, first we need to get into how she began. And this was the result. Pinky purple cropped turtleneck, golden accents, baggy sweatpants, a bun, and these boxing glove-esque sleeves. Is this a cute design? Yeah. Is this the kind of design you'd see on a Sonic character? Probably. Does this match her as a character in the slightest? Nope. She was meant to be perceived as the scary, strong, silent type during this era of her, design. And I don't know about you, but pink crop top and messy buns aren't exactly the scariest thing out there to me. So I tried to fix this by making her more angular, giving her spiky hairstyle, sharper features, edgier makeup, and shoulder pads! And while this did make her more edgy, she still looks like a badnik more than a silent but deadly bodyguard that I planned her to be. And then I took the human ray and I just blasted her with it, which means we got... I know. Listen, in my defense, this was based on her very skinny Sonic design. But, oh my god, did she have to have the same waistline as Jasmine. Over the years, her hair got pinker, her body got beefier, and her hair got longer. Oh yeah, and her story changed a lot. So if you want to see the story of all my OCs here back when they were just Sonic OCs, then let me know in the comments because it is a doozy. Okay, cut back to present day and this speed paint, and you might be able to point out a couple of things. Yes, the pink is gone. Wait. Hear me out. The only reason I took the pink away was because it didn't fit into my webcomic realistically. While dyeing your hair crazy bright colors is a historically common thing, it was mostly seen through wigs, and in the state of my webcomics world, it wouldn't make sense for the people to be spending their precious currency on cosmetics. Well, unless they were high-class folks like the Arondells or any of the other elitists. But I bet you're thinking, dang, isn't Emery technically an elitist too? Which I'd say you are absolutely correct, my pretty little tooth. But she isn't the type to adorn herself cosmetically to stand out. If anything, it makes more sense for VL to have an insane collection of unnaturally colored wigs due to her vanity. Hence why I made the executive decision to remove the pink from Comic Emery's hair. I gave her 2 staple outfits as she won't be changing clothes much throughout the comic. I gave her an upgraded but still simplified version of her original comic outfit that now consists of a leather waist bag, her blue button-up, suspenders, and brown bell-bottoms. Her makeup stayed the exact same, as I thought it would make more sense for her to have the bare minimum of red lipstick on, but I did change a few body features. For example, the scar on her eye is saved for a later date. She got a lot tanner now compared to the Starfire orange I had her as, and she has a few more body scars which are kept hidden under her clothing but peek out from her hands. Now, the next outfit definitely needs a bit more context to those who haven't been privately subjected to my obsessive ramblings about my characters. So, Emery used to be a bullfighter. The only reason I'm telling you this is because it's not a main point in the story and only gives context to how she physically appears and the name of Emery. Considering it was the late 40s during the time she was a bullfighter, that means female bullfighters weren't a respected concept, as women weren't allowed to compete until the mid-70s. So, Esmeralda took it upon herself to get a more masculine physique and change her name to the gender-neutral British name of Emery, to be able to register in a Spanish bullfighting competition. So in this outfit, it's like a callback to those days when she was a teen, and although the shoes are definitely impractical when you're in a fight to the death with a bull, I think the golden heels and soles were just modifications on her real bullfighting shoes. Okay, I think I've info-dumped enough on Emery's design, so let's explain why this works for her as a character. In the comic, she's used as a jack-of-all-trades worker who just so happens to know the only cure to the sickness plaguing the post-apocalyptic world. Her work uniform is practical, along with having a business-like appearance. The baggier clothing also makes her appear broader, as she's a very tall character that towers over the protagonist to give her that slight edge I need to make her appear threatening in certain situations. Her second outfit, also calling back to her glory days, also looks similar to a war general uniform, which gives her an air of authority and stability that most others don't have. While I'm not the type to obsess over shape language, I would like to point out her more boxy features such as the coat, glasses, and pants, all feeding into the rectangular/square category of character. Meanwhile, her more sharper triangular features such as her hair, eyes, and nose also pointing to a sense of power and danger. I also thought to consider the color theory of her design, including mostly dark browns and blues with a hint of gold and bright yellows. Dark blue, according to Smash Magazine, is associated with strength and reliability, and mostly corporate ideals, which is exactly what I needed to portray with Emery's work outfit. Along with the dark brown sometimes invoking the feeling of solitude and safety, the hints of gold could also convey triumph and success. I'd also like to mention, just as a little side note, name Emery also meaning similar things such as industriousness and power, which perfectly complement her as a character. Now, I took the complete opposite approach to VL, at least when it came to shape language and inspiration, but before I get into that, we should talk about her origins just like I did with Emery. A fun fact about VL is that the first hints of her design were made all the way back in 2020, when I was drawing my cringe dream ripoff Sona, meaning she's technically 2 years and a few months older than Emery, who was made in September of 2022. Now, her initial design was actually meant to be a bride left at the altar, hence the name VL, simply being the word veil with a flipped I and E. Her design from her first iteration to her more recent version hasn't changed much. I think I just made her paler, gave her hazel eyes, and a curvier body type. Oh, and I removed the ribbons since magical mind control hair ribbons don't fit into my sci-fi post-apocalyptic drama. I also made her style less edgy and more glam, along with giving the gold to Emery and switching her onto pearls, which now hold incredible narrative purposes. So going into this redesign, I'd first like to talk about where all my inspirations came from. I gave her a Marilyn Monroe body type due to them being in the late 50s where she was all the rage. I also made her fashion and makeup more heavily based on the 1920s showgirl fashion, as that was VL's favorite time period for being vintage, promiscuous, yet classy. Pearls were also a huge staple of that time, and I feel like she really fits that aesthetic. I also curled her hair, as curls were just the bee's knees throughout the 40s to 60s, where the story takes place. I also think this makes her look softer and more unassuming visually. I made the bustier of her dress rounder compared to the more angular way I draw it previously to better convey the shape language. The fluffy neck wrap is also there to add a third neutral color, and it's to allude to VL's character being heavily idolizing of her mother, who also adorns herself in a similar piece that looks just like a net wrap, but functions more like a ruff. Going back to talking about color theory, I'd like to point out how the whole family's purple-blue color schemes are meant to be red herrings that cover up their true nature. VL's light blue colors could be interpreted as freedom and sensitivity considering her role in the story, along with the silvery tones being seen throughout her design conveying a sense of glamour and elegance. Meanwhile, the light brown could be considered comforting and warm. Or you could take these colors in the more negative connotation and find her blues to be a sense of fragility, her silvers being seen as indecisiveness, while the light browns can be considered as loneliness. Every color has a positive and negative meaning, so always remember, the Arendelles thrive on your positive mindset. More onto her lower half, I thought to give her these little garters to hold up her stockings for more 1920s inspiration, and to also give her a bit more of that brown into her design. Also, yes, they are being held up with pearl fasteners. I thought that was cute. I'm not good at drawing shoes, if you haven't figured that out already. So trust me when I say she'd probably own every type of vintage heel, but I am simply incapable of drawing that. Oh, also, I'd like to mention that those gloves she wears are because she's germophobic. I thought it was just funny to add something to her design that explains why she's always wearing the gloves, even when not in public and being seen. Alright, even though VL's segment wasn't anywhere near as long as Emery's, she's already got her video, and I didn't change her much from her previous iterations, so let's move on to Miss Victoria Arendelle. And I accidentally didn't record half of the sketching part, which is mostly the reason that this part of the video will be much shorter, But also, Victoria isn't a complex character. At least visually she isn't. In my comic, I guarantee you'll either love and relate to her closely or find her absolutely annoying and lame. There will be no in between, which might be considered bad writing on my end, or it could be really good writing in making such a controversial character. Only time will tell. So, as I mentioned a few days ago, Victoria is our protagonist. The one we follow around until the webcomic inevitably ends, so I'd have to make a design simple enough to draw over and over and over and over and over again, while also making it be aesthetically pleasing and cute. So I designed her purely for this comic, but she did have subtle hints of a backstory back in VL's Sonic OC era, and that's where I got the idea for the first couple of chapters of the comic. And I really like how she looks almost owlish to show intelligence and how book smart she can be. Now, when I was drawing her, I had no idea she'd be this small. I really have to graph my character's heights because her size absolutely gobsmacked me. Like, I think you can see me trying to mark down everyone's heights in one of these speed paints. She was always meant to be like a smaller character to make Emery and Violette appear like bigger threats, at least from a physical standpoint. But dang! Anyway, height tangent over, she didn't change much from her original design, other than having a lighter color palette and me ditching that baby barf brown headscarf I originally gave her. Now, I made her initial design at 3 AM on a Saturday after I finished drawing all the other main characters, which is why she, looks like that. I thought her dress was so ugly. Like, I know I made it look ugly to look ugly, but I didn't want it to look that ugly, you know? So I gave her a different neckline and actually gave her some sandals instead of the heels she wore. I thought it would fit her character more, and she's meant to be like the polar opposite to the rest of her vain and glamorous family, so sandals were the more sensible and grounded choice to me. Her light green colors are meant to represent new beginnings, growth, and hope, which represents her character and story pretty well. But, as mentioned before, with every positive there are negatives, so I had the green represent her judgmental side, which will be more explored throughout the first parts of the comic with VL. She's meant to be in her late 20s, early 30s, so I wanted to give her this momish hairstyle and socks with sandals to show her maturity and how she denounces any form of glamour. Also, her makeup is near non-existent, to further push that point. For shape language, I definitely pushed her more onto the rectangular side, mainly to show modesty, but also to signify that she's balanced, professional, and likes to have things be orderly. And other than that, I don't really have much to comment on her. But as a final statement, I'll say I am extremely happy I ditched that horribly dark brown, which was torture to shade. Alright, those were my webcomic character redesigns. Thank you for giving my video a chance and even watching this far. If you'd like me to make more, then like the video or let me know down in the comment section. Or tell me about your OCs and how their shapes and colors convey into their personalities or how they're perceived by others. Oh, also, I'd like to thank everybody who previously subscribed, commented, and liked my last video. Everyone's support made me feel really special and so happy to see that my video makes you think of your own characters or just provides some form of entertainment. Oh yeah, subscribe to be one of the first people to see my videos when they go live, keep making OCs, and stay toothy. Bye-bye!